Welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott and we're counting down to my top 10 most anticipated new physical manga releases for 2025. There is a ton of new and different exciting series coming out, and this is my best take of what's been at least announced coming out so far that I am looking forward to. I guarantee hopefully there should be some things on this list that have flown on your radar that you did not expect. And I'd love to know in the comments below, what are you most looking forward to coming out this 2025? Doesn't even have to be in my top 10. Would you let the community know, as many of us are trying to figure out what should we buy? Maybe we should wait on, just as you know, manga is expensive. So let's go ahead and count down, starting with number 10. Is a little bit of cheating just because I've already had an opportunity to read the first volume thanks to our friends over at Yen Press, but that is none other than The Color of the End. Wow, this is a post-apocalyptic series. It reminds me of what the aftermath would be of the movie with Tom Cruise, The War of the Worlds. If, you know, the whole world wasn't, I don't want to spoil the movie, but if it had a different trajectory, this feels like this would be it. Is you had mysterious alien life forms that came over, cleaned out the world, and she is just one of the few people left. And she's just looking for survivors. At the same time, her job is to clean, to make it safe for people to come back in. So you're seeing her just go to different places, exploring this post-apocalyptic just wasteland. And I gotta say, I was just so moved by this. It also reminded me of Lamb, just the architecture, just going around the city, just the whole world itself. I mean, just look at how amazing just the details of this in the world itself. I'm just so much mystery as you're following this girl, and I just cannot wait to find out what happens next with the sci-fi type of thing. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but I gotta say, you've got to check out the first volume. Hands down, this is probably the best new release in January. If I take all the releases that came out in January, well, there's one that's gonna be on my top 10, so maybe that would be better, but I will say in my top 10 just for the year, this is definitely making the list. Highly recommend. You've got to check out. So number 10, The Color of the End. Now coming in at number 9 is from Udon Entertainment, and that is the Slice of Life series Veil. And what's nice about this, it's supposed to be all in color, and I've read a couple chapters online, and just you're dealing with the slice of life of this cop, and then he runs into this girl, and then she ends up becoming an operator, and just in this French city, and you're seeing the banter back and forth with them. And it's nice to have another series just following adults. So there is Slice of Life series just with high school or going to college, so sometimes it's nice to just see the adults itself. And one thing that really hit me with this series is just the great color illustrations. Each just little chapter tidbit is just so really quick. There's not a whole lot, and I hope there's an overarching plot with it. So I'm intrigued to find out if there's a big connected story, as each little story itself just feels very compartmentalized, as you're continuing to follow their life, but it almost feels more like a sitcom a little bit. But again, really, really short comparison, and you're just seeing them just talk and just grow together. Very, very, I gotta say, at least the dialogue for what I read was pretty witty. So if you're looking for something that's a witty slice of life series, and again, the color and just it has a unique art style, I think Veil is definitely gonna be worth checking out your time. Coming in at number 8 is something I believe was on my top 10 and most anticipated last year, but we did not get a release for that, and that's actually from Dempa, and that is Short Game, and it's a collection of short stories from the same author that gave us the hit series Cross Game. So I was really looking forward to these short stories, the little one-shots from baseball. I think there's other sports involved as well, and I just thought the cover and everything just really took me back. This was something I was really looking forward to. Cross Game, which is so popular, so many people love it, and I was like, oh, if I can get just a bite-sized chunk of that, I was, man, over the moon I would be. So unfortunately, it did not come out. It's supposed to come out in a few months now in 2025. So because we didn't get it last year, it's come back and it's made it on this list for my number 8. Coming in at number 7 is actually a reprint, and it's supposed to be a collector's edition of a 2-in-1, and this is from 7 Seas, none other than Pet Shop of Horrors. This is supposed to be a josei series, as you're following a detective as there's this pet shop that when people they're given these pets based off of just the type of person they are, and there are consequences along the way. Now, from what I understand from the story itself, which Very little have I read, or I'm going in just almost completely blinded, but so many people are excited about this. But there's supposed to be like every little story within itself is going to have its own conclusion, just close. But then we have this overarching narrative after like each episode of this thing. So I'm looking forward to this just because I don't know much about it. I know we don't get too many good Josei series, it feels like. So for my bang my buck, I've already pre-ordered this. I think it's coming out in March, which isn't too long. Especially a collector's type of thing, it's definitely worth at least getting the first one and checking it out. Now coming in at number 6, this is actually my first one from Viz Media, and this is Cosmos. Now Cosmos is the one thing that grabbed me the most with this one is just the artwork itself. It reminds me a little bit going back to like Rui Dragon or like a Chainsaw Man, or almost like Marriage Talks into the artwork itself. And I love this idea where you have this boy who's from this girl who her job, she's with this insurance agency, but it's for a different universe. So there's aliens involved, and just seems so funny and just absolutely wacky material. I covered it a little more when Viz made the announcement a while back, but I think this is gonna be one of the better ones coming out. I think there's 6 volumes out so far. So the bit I've read, I was just laughing out loud just seeing some of the ridiculous antics. I feel like this might become like a Dan to Dan light. So if you like Dan to Dan, some of those just hilarious just hijinks of it, but not as heavy on the adult content, I think Cosmos is just going to be a very entertaining title, and we need more comedy-ish just action series. So I'm really looking forward to Cosmos. All right, coming in at number 5 is a series that comes out this January. I just haven't got my copy yet, but I have pre-ordered it, and this is Firefly Wedding. This is another Josei series by Viz Media, and what I like about the series is you're following this girl who has a group of assassins that are going after her, and then she's wealthy enough that she's able to offer them like, hey, if one of you will take out the others, I'll go ahead and I will join you, and I'll be your heiress. So one person decides to take her up on her. He ends up taking up all the other assassins. There is a lot of bloodshed. And man, the artwork was incredible for this. So another one, I know I'm talking about artwork a lot, it seems like, with these different things, but it was very, very gritty. I'm surprised this was actually a Josei series. But man, this just seems so good. You can read the first 3 chapters for free. I think it was on Comixology. So I went on, or Comic Key, I apologize, I butcher that every time. But I really liked it. I really thought it was good, and I was already sucked in. I wanted to know what was going to happen next. I think this is going to be a lot of people's number 1 for this month to come out for January. My mind is going to be The Color in the End. I think that's going to be better and one you've got to check out right away. But I think this is another one a lot of people are going to gravitate towards, and most likely this will be eventually, on digitally at least, available on the Viz Media app to check out as well. All right, coming in at number 4, I'm sensing the theme, and that is, yes, it is Viz Media, and this is The Bugle Call. The reason why I like The Bugle Call is just a little bit, I've looked about this, is it felt a little bit like a Vinland Saga, just a good medieval type of war story, and we haven't had too many of those in a long time. And this has to do with the bard who has the bugle, just tuning his horn, and just raising the troops, rallying them for battle, and just going through what it's like through the battle itself. So I was very, very intrigued. This is another one I don't know a whole lot about. And what's interesting is a lot of these series coming out only have 6 or 7 volumes total. So I'm interested to see is how many are, a lot of these, especially Viz, or it's going to be every 2 months. Are we going to get one of them? Is it going to be one every 3 months like Marriage Talks, or every 4? But there's a lot of newer titles that Viz is giving us where there's not very many in Japan. There's not a big cushion. So I'm interested to see how they handle that. But if you're looking for like a good medieval fantasy, just feel like a really good war, as you can see on the clips here, wow, I'm just really interested. This is one I really want to check out, and I think it's one you're going to want to check out as well. Okay, number 3, I know, I'm a little shocked to say this, but it is another Viz Media title. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be partial for Viz Media. But this is none other than The Climber. So why The Climber? As you know, a manga about someone who's passionate about just mountain climbing. Well, the reason why I'm so interested in this series is because of the author and his other 2 series that we have received already. This was his most popular that we just never got, and now Viz was kind of go ahead and get the rights to it. So the other one that Viz has done is for them is a Dracula, the hashtag DRCRL. So we have that one already. It's about Dracula. It's all right. It feels a little expensive, just I've talked about before, the hardcover sword, but it's okay. But he also did another series that was published by Dark Horse, which I really like, which is Innocent. And then he has a sequel called Innocent Rogue, which I hope Dark Horse gets the rights to. So Innocent has this going through the French Revolution. The artwork is his artwork is second to none. Wow. So I'm really intrigued just because of how well he did with Innocent. And if people say, if you like Innocent, you're like Climber even more. It's been one of the most popular series on my anime list, yet we've never gotten an English printing. So because of that, I'm really looking forward to finding out more about this passion of just rock climbing and just following the journey along the way. So I'm head over heels for the Climber. All right, coming in at number 2, I don't know anyone else that has this on their list. I've actually purposely not watched really any other YouTubers, their manga just their list of what they have, because I didn't just want to be a copycat, and I didn't want to be like, oh, you just took that idea from them. So my guess, at least this one I'm going to discuss for number 2, is not on any of their list, or at least their top 10. Then this is my number 2, and it's from Ablaze. And it's none other than The Breaker, the next wave, or the new wave. So The Breaker. So there's the original Breaker here. I have 1 through 5. I really love these, and they came in a 2-in-1. So there's The Breaker. It's extremely good martial arts series. Is you have this boy who just getting beat up all the time. He's really weak, and then he has a teacher along the way who becomes a mentor for him and ends up training him. There's some gang violence and just crazy antics involved in his, and now you got some hidden powers coming out. But wow, I really, really loved The Breaker. I didn't see a lot of people talk about it, but this series really captivated me. And the next wave or new wave of The Breaker is even more, has a better rating on my anime list. So they say if you like the original, you are going to love the sequel even more. So Ablaze is coming out with this. They actually have the first 2-in-1 volumes at least published, where you can go ahead and pre-order them. So I really, really hope this doesn't get pushed way back, as a lot of Blaze titles lately, it seems like we get a release date for it and it's like 6 or 7 months later. So I'm really hoping that we get the first one in March like it's supposed to, and the next one I think after that is June. Wow, I really, really loved The Breaker. I feel like I need to do a review on this series. So because of that, I'm so excited for the sequel. If you've not checked out The Breaker, I believe Ablaze did do a box set for this, so I'd probably get the box set if you haven't already. But with this being so good, I cannot wait to find out what happens next, as it ended on such a good little cliffhanger. You're like, oh, what are they going to do now? And I don't want to spoil it. So I'm really looking forward to the sequel by Ablaze. That is my number 2 most anticipated release for 2025. All right, now we're coming down to number 1. You're wondering, Scott, what is the most thing that you're most anticipated with? And I actually, speaking on people's lists, this is probably on their top 10, even their number 1. It's on my number 1 just because it's rated number 2 on my anime list of all time without ever receiving an English release. So we have an English website giving this the number 2 of all time. I've talked about it many times before, but that is none other than Steel Ball Run for JoJo Bizarre Adventures. And what's nice is it's a story all in itself, self-contained, so you don't need to know anything from the other JoJo Bizarre Adventures. Technically, this is part 7. You don't need to read 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5, or 6 to go ahead and enjoy this series. In fact, even though I've only read 1, 2, and 3, even though we collected the others, and yes, we're going to read them, I'm going to read this right away, and I want to follow up every 2 months when we get a new one. I want to be as caught up as I can. I'm going to read this through a fresh perspective. I purposely have never read this. I don't really like the idea of going ahead and reading things online that have not been given English translations. I like physical anyways, and if it's only available digitally, I want to do it the right way. So I'm not a fan of just pirating things or trying to find scans online. For me personally, my take, it feels wrong. I know other people might have a different take on that, but if the author especially does not like that, I don't want to do that. So I'm coming in with a fresh pair of eyes. I don't know anything of this series other than people say this is the best of all time. So I don't think I need to convince you anymore. My gut is most people, this is going to be their number one as well. It's one that they're most anticipated for. So I'm just very grateful that we're even getting this in the first place. So I'm even surprised this year we're getting this. This feels like a Christmas miracle a bit, even though it's coming out closer to the summer, just because I never anticipate. When I started collecting manga years ago, it wasn't my wildest dreams the idea that we'd ever get this, let alone the Climber. And man, it's just, and now we have a Shia no Joel. It's really cool to see some of these old releases and stories that we've never gotten English release finally making themselves into English. So I really hope publishers, take more risks on these things, will bring us other things. I'd love to see The Kingdom, which, I think 70 volumes, so I don't know if that'll ever happen. I really hope the publishers will go ahead and bring more of these titles that I just think they would be so amazing. So those are my final thoughts. I'd love to know, again, below, what are your thoughts? What are you most looking forward to? And I did try to just be as fast as I can on this video, because I know your time is just as valid. So that's my top 10. That's what I'm most looking forward to. And just a little snippets why I'm just, because again, I didn't just want to go through a whole long list on exactly everything with it, because I just don't want to spoil the story. I like to come in as fresh eyes as possible with knowing just very little. So that was my goal with it. So hey, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.